Anwar has been supporting his family of 5 from his mini-market for the past 8 years. But Lebanon's economic crisis means each month it's more difficult to make ends meet. Now he is worried about paying for his 3 children's schooling.
Life was so much better in the city before, but now it's really changed. What we need to buy from the suppliers is more and more expensive. This has affected the profit and the work in general. People are only buying necessities.
80% of food in Lebanon is imported, so as the value of the Lebanese lira plunges, most food gets more expensive. 6 months ago, a kilo of lemons was $1,500. Now it is $4,000. But that's far from the only problem. Fuel shortages mean power cuts have increased from 3 hours a day to at least 17.
It's a big problem, the cost of electricity now. It's a major cost, and it's really increased because we're using the generator so much. We're trying to use less electricity to sustain ourselves. Of course, this has affected our ability to purchase specific items like meat and dairy. I used to fill 4 fridges in the shop. Now I can only fill 2 in order for the generator to cope.
Simon has been a vet for 6 years. Now he is hoping to leave the country, as are many like him. Nearly everything he uses for his veterinary practice is also imported, and he has to pay many suppliers in US dollars. But customers are paying in Lebanese lira.
If there's a bill of $100, 6 months ago it is 150,000 Lebanese lira. Now it's up to 1 million Lebanese lira.
Banking restrictions mean that people cannot withdraw their own savings if they are in dollars.
You can get your Lebanese lira, it's not a problem, but it's useless to get your Lebanese lira. If you have $100 in the bank, you can get this dollar as a Lebanese lira on a rate of 3.8. On the black market, the $100, I think now it is 900,000 Lebanese lira, and this is a big difference. You know, it's really heavy on a personal level to manage all of this.
Stories like these echo across the country. The World Bank estimates extreme poverty levels may reach 22% and overall poverty levels 45%, which means 1.7 million people would be below the poverty line. The crisis here has been years in the making. Economists say Lebanon's elite have embezzled money under the cover of the country's sectarian system.
This translates into poor policies, poor governance, and a lot of corruption. So back in 2016, we essentially put our finger on corruption as the driving force. Lebanon was also a deficit economy. The way it financed its deficits and the way it kept the currency peg to the US dollar at the official rate of about 1,500 was to attract dollar deposits from the diaspora and from investors.
But the system began to unravel.
As long as Lebanon was able to ensure dollars flowing into the banking system in the pursuit of high interest rates, the financing needs of the country were met. However, this policy amounted to an unsustainable scheme in which Lebanon needed to attract more and more foreign currency. When the confidence in Lebanon started to diminish and when it became more difficult to attract the deposits, then the system began to collapse.
And with very little produced here, there is no industry to fall back on. As Lebanon continues to spiral into economic catastrophe, anger on the streets increases towards the political elite, seen as the root cause of the problem. People ask whether they will take steps needed to put Lebanon on the path to recovery, although many have already lost hope.
To date, Lebanon has not taken steps to bring about the stabilization of the economy. In order to do so, several policymakers need to make several decisions. They need to decide on how to reduce the fiscal deficit. They need to decide on how to reduce public debt. They need to decide on how to address the implications of the fiscal adjustment and of the debt reduction on the banking sector. And finally, they need, and most importantly, they need to stabilize the lira.
They also need to decide who will shoulder the burden, the poor or those who have been benefiting from the system. Imogen Kimber The newsmakers in Beirut.